WWE World Heavyweight Championship match. Daniel Bryan defeats Randy Orton and Batista in what probably would have been a better match if the Undertaker streak didn't sully the crowd and the Divas match that followed it do exactly the same. But I still think it was a pretty decent match. It wasn't as good as the Triple H one, I think. And Daniel Bryan coming out on top is exactly what they needed. It's good to see that they have him beat Batista and make him tap out as well, because the first match ended with a pinfall. It would have been a little bit weird if he would have won both with just the knee. The S-Lock's a good way to end it. That way there's kind of like a definitive, it's totally done. He has completely won these things clean. Even more so than clean because of the attacks from Triple H and Stephanie. I really just was a huge fan of how they ended this pay-per-view. That is exactly how they should have ended it. Anything else would have been a travesty. Lego?
I almost feel every Mania should end with a feel-good moment, and you couldn't get any better than this. For a long time, the story of Daniel Bryan has just been him getting shit on, and a lot of the times it looked like they had no direction for him, even though they was telling the story of the underdog. Then CM Punk kind of shits on the company, and he falls into this spot, and we get what we've wanted for so long. And the match itself was awesome. I enjoyed the story that they told, and the stretcher spot was a lot of fun. They made you believe for a moment that, oh, hey, Randy Orton's actually going to win retain his championship. And in the end, we got the feel-good moment. They overdid the confetti a little, but it was a lot of fun.
That whole stretcher thing was pretty weird, too. I mean, it looked like Randy Orton got more messed up than Daniel Bryan, at least from my perspective. You can see that he sort of landed on that monitor.
Yeah, that fucking looked painful.
Yeah, and it's like the whole focus is supposed to be like, oh, is Daniel Bryan injured? And I wonder if Randy Orton's sitting there going like, I fucking am. Like, God damn it, my back is bleeding. And everybody's going like, what's up with Daniel Bryan?
Can I go home?
He's like, can I get a fucking med person to check me out? And they're like, no, you're not Daniel Bryan.
I want someone to actually like sell like Peter Griffin one time and just start going. Would have been great after that.
Peyton, what did you think about the end of the match? The whole thing, for that matter.
Well, again, I was still having a hard time getting myself immersed after the ending of the streak. And I also should mention that this was also when I was celebrating my birthday, which was the day after WrestleMania, actually. But since it was still a weekend and it was a big event with WrestleMania and the season premiere of Game of Thrones that evening, I had a lot of my friends over and we were partying. So I was pretty far gone by this point came around. So I was not 100% there for this match for those two reasons. So I only have vague memories going throughout this whole thing. I remember the table spot, which looked awesome. The whole idea of the Batista bomb into the RKO. If they continue this tag team of Batista and Randy Orton and they don't continue using that move regularly, that's a mistake because that move looked badass. The stretcher spot, I didn't believe for a second was actually real. It's not like when Mankind was taken out after falling off the Hell in a Cell. I thought it was pushing it a little bit. But whatever. I guess they added what they had to add to it. Daniel Bryan won, as he should have. We had the final moment of Daniel Bryan chanting yes with 80,000 strong, chanting yes along with him in the Silver Dome, or the Super Dome, or the whatever it is.
Super fresh.
Yeah, so another feel-good moment at WrestleMania to close the show, which is exactly what it needed after all the energy was sucked out from the streak ending.
Drew?
I thought this was a fantastic match. I think this might have been a better match than Triple H and Daniel Bryan match earlier in the evening. And I didn't. And the surprising thing is, with all the interference and like all the booking they did, they didn't overbook it. Everything was fine because of the storyline that they went with going through it. And when Daniel Bryan wasn't a part of the match, which he didn't do much for half of the match because of he was worn. They played the whole he was worn out and like the stretcher part of it. I think Batista and Randy Orton exceeded what they needed to do when it came to match quality. Honestly, from what the stuff that they did, I know we shat on the idea of Orton and Batista in the main event, and I know the crowd would have shat on it as well, but it didn't feel like that they would have put on that bad of a match. I think they could have put on a good match just by what I saw here. Now I know Daniel Bryan was also in the match as well, and that I could just be looking at it through that. But I think they excelled they exceeded what I thought that they were going to do. And I didn't know if Batista did this week's going up to it, but I remember when he first came back, he didn't do the sit down powerbomb like he always did. He did do it here, so I was glad he did that because I think that's the best power bomb out of all the power bombs, pretty much.
It's bomb.com.
But thebomb.com, as Cameron or whatever the fuck her real name would say. So, and when it all comes to an end, this is a great way, a fantastic way, if not one of the best ways to end a WrestleMania. That feel-good moment, the one that every fan has been looking forward to. The only thing I'm going to worry about going forward is if the yes chant and like all this momentum that Daniel Bryan has, I just really hope that it doesn't lose that momentum and he just becomes like, kind of like Chris Benoit was a couple years after he won his match at WrestleMania 20. And I say that because, everyone finally got that big payoff with Daniel Bryan. Now they could go look for something else. And I really hope that's not the case because he is a fantastic in-ring worker. He's gotten a lot better with everything else that he needed to work on. He's doing a good job at now. So
yeah, but Cesaro's pretty awesome, right?
Cesaro was pretty awesome. Cesaro was I don't know. And the thing is, when I started watching wrestling again back in 2011, I don't know why and this is before I even got into like the internet part of wrestling as well. And I've always had this Daniel Bryan. The only reason why I liked him when I first started watching again was because he has the best fucking entrance music out of everyone in the company. And that's the only reason why. I don't know why that just stuck with me, but I'm very glad that they didn't fuck this up because this was the only chance they had to redeem themselves after like the terrible treatment. Well, not terrible, but the bit Bush League booking with Daniel Bryan since he lost at SummerSlam, and we got the payoff finally. So this was great. I thought WrestleMania was great, and I'm very glad that the network didn't fuck up at all during this because I was afraid that the stream would give out because it's the first stream and all. But very good, exceeded my expectations, and yeah.
Funny enough about the network, Dace had ordered the network about 2 weeks after they first had the whole big you could buy it from the pre-order and all that other kind of stuff. And after the pre-show, he bought the pay-per-view separately.
Why?
Because he was just like, I'm afraid that it's gonna end up crapping out on me.
Well, I heard some people say that the pre-show was crapping on a bit, but apparently WWE fixed it.
The sound
did
go weird. The sound went really weird at one point where it sounded like it was being played through like a paper towel roll or something. It was weird.
The only thing that I noticed when I was watching my stream at least was that a couple times it would replay something a couple seconds back, like during the Daniel Bryan Triple H promo. It replayed Triple H saying a B+ player like twice, and I was like, oh, that's very fucking good timing for a promo, and I thought that's what it was until I watched it back. So
that's a constant glitch with the network. I've had that several times.
That was the first time I noticed that. I didn't know that was a constant thing. So yeah, besides that, thankfully the stream would have didn't break out because I think that would have been a make or break for the network and this pay-per-view as a whole, or special event, my bad. So this was excellent. I have no complaints at all about the way they booked this match.
So overall for WrestleMania, my opinion was you have the two big errors. Everything else was pretty damn awesome. And I think it's going to be tough to beat this for the best pay-per-view of the year. But they do have the ability to beat it. And I really hope that they do. If Undertaker would have won, I probably would have given us a 3 out of 3. Even though I wasn't too big on the John Cena Bray Wyatt match. But I did like a lot of this pay-per-view so much. So kudos to all the people who did that, right? And let's go around again and just do overall basic pay-per-view thoughts when you combine everything together. Wego?
Overall, I thought it was a great WrestleMania. Even The Undertaker losing, whilst I didn't like it, it's still a big moment, and you're always going to remember it. So, if nothing else, this pay-per-view is going to be memorable. And as far as match quality goes, overall, the show was not half bad. So, after having 2 subpar WrestleManias the last couple of years, this is definitely an upgrade, and I was happy with it.
Peyton?
Going into this WrestleMania, I thought it was going to be another just blah, uneventful, unimportant. And I got to say, this ended up being one of the best of all time. Absolutely the best since, I would say, 22. And I would put it in the top 5 of all time. I was thoroughly impressed. If you could use one word you have to use, and you can't deny, even if you don't want to say you liked it, you have to say it was historic. Big things happened this night. We saw the end with the end of the streak, and we saw the beginning of Daniel Bryan and Cesaro. And, maybe 5 years from now, we're going to look back and that means absolutely nothing, but I don't think that's going to be the case. I think we're going to look back, and we're going to look back at WrestleMania 30 the same way we look back at WrestleMania 12 for Shawn Michaels.
And you know what else is kind of weird? It's something that obviously they didn't plan or whatever, but another historic thing. Ultimate Warrior. Finally get Ultimate Warrior in there, and then that's the last time that you're going to see him.
Mm-hmm.
So even though that was a little bit of a disappointment thing, I really wanted him to run down to the ring.
Yeah.
That was still nice to have that kind of closure, I guess you could say. Drew, final thoughts about the pay-per-view in general?
Yeah, I have to agree with Peyton. I think this might be one of the greatest WrestleManias of all time. I haven't got to see many of the earlier ones, but based on what I've heard other people say, I don't really need to see some of the earlier ones, besides for the ones that they noted, like 12. I've never seen all of 17 or 19, just some of the big matches that happen on there. And those two are considered the best 2 of all time. But this is definitely the best Mania, in my opinion, they've had since after 19, so 20 and on. This was the best one. I think this one does top 24 and 26 when it comes to quality. And, the only problem I'm going to have about this Mania is that people are going to remember it probably more about the streak ending than Daniel Bryan overcoming the odds and becoming that champion that no one thought that he would do. I think that's the only issue I will complain about. But, at the end of the day, it's not that big of a deal because what happens, and, that's not really in his control. But, like I said, this is definitely, in my opinion, the best pay-per-view I ever watched live. And I just want to see, hopefully they could keep this momentum going forward because they could do great things with what they just accomplished.
All right, guys, tell us what you guys thought of the whole pay-per-view. Leave a comment below. And that's going to round out all of our WrestleMania review. We have one more thing that we're going to do on this episode, and that's tell you some details about the Fantasy League. And then that'll be it for us.